right, not bad at all. Okay, rest a minute, dancers.
Mr.
Okay.
Mitchell,
Hi, Patsy. How are you? How you feeling?
I want to ask you, you're working and teaching classical ballet, which is a product of a white luxury society.
Right.
What's it got for blacks, and what can blacks give to it?
Well, the first thing is when I started the idea of having a school in Harlem, I thought, what could I do that I know well? And I know classical ballet the best. And of all the dance forms, I feel that the strongest technical base and the most disciplined is classical ballet. And I figured that using the tools that I know, it should be classical ballet. And just like everything, you see, there's a certain way that Americans have of moving, and particularly black Americans also, as we can take things that are indigenous to us like African and jazz and modern and couple that with the technique of the classical ballet, you'd have something totally unique and different. And that's what we're trying to do. And what we found out, whether the kids are going to be dancers or not, the discipline, and that's the primary word, the discipline that they learn through the classical ballet transcends into their everyday lives. A kid that came in slumped like this or round-shouldered all of a sudden becomes physically aware of themselves. They want to dress better. They want to stand better. A kid who is very talented or had all this stuff burning up inside but didn't know where to channel it, through the dance they channel it and they become disciplined. Their schoolwork gets better because that discipline goes into everything.
Well, how do you get them interested in it in the first place?
Well, we go into the schools because we feel that the arts should be an integral part of everyone's lives. And we go into the public schools and we do free lecture demonstrations on the art of the classical dance, or the dance for that matter, and show the science of the dance, why and wherefore we practice. Because most people feel that if you're an artist, it's just something very fly-by-night and very flimsy. And it isn't. Those people are very dedicated, or we, I should say, are very dedicated, and our lives are dedicated towards becoming better human beings, because that's what it's all about. And people say, well, why ballet or why the arts when people are hungry and things like that? But there's certain parts of a human being that even food cannot fulfill. There's an aesthetic thing that we all have.
Well, how do you get across that bridge, though? The terminology is all in French.
Right.
The discipline is foreign to them to begin with. How do you relate it to them?
Well, I take it and put it into things that they can relate to, in the sense that I take basketball, I take football, I take track, and I show the fellas, like, you know, like earlier I was saying that, like, if you take two football teams, when they're opposing each other, they don't stand straight. They go into what we call a crouch. Now, all we do is take that same crouch, we turn our legs out, hold our backs up, and we're in second position demi-plie. And I should say that we work in what we call a turned-out position. This is, Rhonda, would you come here a moment, sweetheart? Now, stand in first position. Now, this is with the legs being turned out from the hip socket. Now, bat-matin to the side. Now, you see, then you have a much more beautiful line. Now, make your legs parallel. Picture your legs absolutely parallel. But you see, then it's a different line, you see. Now, let's say, like, a Susu, fifth position, and développé à la seconde. As high as you can, turned out. Now, put it down. Now, do the same thing turned in. Can't get your leg up, you see.
Football players have very much problem raising money. The arts has a great deal of problem raising money.
That's true.
How do you answer the question, and you must have, of the difference in funding, art when there's poverty all around?
Well, the thing is, you see, as I said earlier, is that there is still a part, and every human being has an aesthetic part of them that's still there that has to be tapped. Everyone can appreciate beauty, but it's a matter of giving them the opportunity to do so, and finding that the arts is not something that is just extraneous to their lives. Because you see, if you go to most primitive cultures or societies, you find that it's a religious thing. It's a very integral part of their everyday life. They express their joy, they express their happiness. Like we just came from New Mexico with the Indians. You take the Indian dances. Even to us, we still think of it as dancing or singing music as something special. But to them, it's a natural means of weighing, being, and doing. And if they have something to release, they do it through movement or through voice or through song. And this is the same thing with the Negro spiritual, or it's the classics for that matter. And we feel it's better to matter of putting what you feel inside into the movement. Now, if you're doing something of a romantic style, you can do like this. But if you want to do the same thing in a jazz style, you go, duh. It's the same movement, but it's just the energy behind it, but it has nothing to do with your personal life. And jazz is an idiom that's quite American. It's an American style. It's a freer form of dance. But you see, if you have your technique, and you're going to be a stripper, you're going to be a better stripper. I started as a hoofer, as a matter of fact. But it sounds funny, but you know, just going. Being able to shift very quickly, that likeness gives me the possibility to move very quickly from working on the ball of my feet. If you stand on your heels and into the ground, you can't move at all. but here. And the tap gives you that quick change. And it's the same thing if you were in sports. If you're going to run, you can't run on your heels. You're not going to make it. You've got to get yourself forward. And the more you push that foot against the floor, the higher sprint you can get to go. It's like in football or basketball. If you do what we call a demi-plie or a bending of the knee, which is here, you're not going to make it doing it like that. But the more plie, the higher you can jump. So, if say I'm only 5'10", I want to get on the basketball team, the other guys are 6'3". If I study long enough, I get a good stretch in that Achilles tendon, I can jump high as a guy 6'3".
You think ballet then is here to stay?
Oh, believe me, baby.
Thank you.
It's been my pleasure. See you around here. Okay, now we'll see what's happening over here.